Welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, JMack, John McMullen. JMack, how you doing on this Thursday morning, brother? Just a couple of shows left this week, and then we are into the week where camp begins for the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, feeling good. Well, I guess the somber note, Bryan Braman passed away, unfortunately, former
Very sad, John.
Eagles, Super Bowl champion, came back at the end of the 2017 season. So glad that he
run, right?
Yeah. I believe he blocked a punt in the
blocked a
game.
punt.
Yeah. Great special teams player. I remember talking about that was the era. Like, Chip doesn't get a lot of credit for some of the things he brought to Philadelphia that are still going on. I always say that. I don't think Chip's a great coach, Chip Kelly, but I do think he takes so much of what he brought in, the league as a whole adopted. So I think he had a bigger impact than people realize. But that's the sports science stuff and things like that. Tempo, but he had no filter, yada, yada, yada. But to Bryan Braman's point, that was the era that brought Dave Phipp in. He's a great special teams coordinator. Still is with Detroit. And man, they had the reputation of having like the best special teams group in the NFL. And it was an era where they every year they would have 2 or 3 players that they would just sign for special teams, or just say, this guy's not necessarily going to help you somewhere else, which is rare because everybody wants that. Well, you got to be able to play a position or this or that. And they sort of ignore special teams, and they just get the special teams and say, well, we'll just use this guy. And, it's an art to be good at special teams. So the 2 players I would always point to were Chris Maragos, who's one of the best special teams player I've ever seen, and Bryan Braman. And the Eagles were, for that span, almost always a top 5 special teams group, which Chip deserves a lot of credit. Phipp deserves even more credit. And the mentality of, we're going to get players who are just good at special teams. And that was Bryan Braman as a football player. But so sad to not even reach 40. And as you mentioned before we started, he's got daughters, and life's not fair, man.
No, it's really not, John. 11-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old daughter, man. That's all I think about when something like that. Obviously, you think about the family, the wife, everything. He lost his life, but those 2 girls now growing up without a dad, man, that's tough. It's a tough break, John.
Yeah, it really is. But so wanted to say something about Bryan Braman. One of those underrated guys. A lot of people don't pay attention to special teams, but first thing I think about that era is Phipp, and when it comes to the third base, it's Phipp, Maragos, Braman. That to me encapsulated how good the Eagles were on special teams, and the fact he was able to come back and make that play in the playoffs and do that in the first Super Bowl in Eagles history. That's a feather in his cap as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So rest in peace to Bryan Braman. I'll be praying for his family, his daughters, and everybody close to him. He had a rare, aggressive form of cancer, is how it was worded. He was 38 years old, and his agent confirmed that he passed away. So rest in peace to Bryan Braman. John, let's move on. I do want to get into a little bit more of an upbeat note. Obviously, want to give our respect to Bryan, but let's turn the page here. The other side of it is two very stark sides to the coin to start the show this morning, John. Obviously, how sad it is with Bryan Braman. And then you go over to the ESPYs last night. The Eagles win best team. It's a hilarious event all throughout. Shane Gillis is chirping everybody. Nobody is safe.
Eagles fan, by the way. Shane Gillis, Eagles fan.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I saw the monologue he did about the best team, and he was talking, well, they could be the best team, but they're not this. They're not this. So It was pretty funny. But your thoughts on the ESPYs, Johnny Mac? You had some thoughts pre-show. I want to give you the chance.
Yeah, well,
lay it out.
I think it's funny. Again, you saw all the disrespect people. There's not too much disrespect for your favorite team, Alex, and describe Hollywood. And look, I could care less about the ESPYs, and it's sort of like the Hollywoodization of professional sports, and that's what ESPN is trying to do with it. But like make it the Grammys or whatever. But best team, best play, Saquon, obviously the reverse hurdle, which is kind of easy. Like I mentioned, I can't even tell you. Shane Gillis, I mean, the host of the show is a big Eagles. This disrespect nonsense is just completely off base. And I did see Nick Sirianni was out there cracking up at Gillis's Bill Belichick jokes, which was kind of funny about, who he's dating. Let's just say that. You can watch it if you want. But, yeah, it's a good time. And obviously the Eagles were well respected. The best team, not only in the NFL, but across professional sports. The ESPY award-winning Philadelphia Eagles.
There you go. I think you've changed some minds, John, on the disrespect of the Eagles, at least for an at-large perspective. I think the fan bases are still, because, John, people
I think they're
Twitter,
so used to thinking it, they can't get off it. It's just
I think there's an element too of like the Twitterization of the world where they go on and they converse with other fans and they fight and debate with other fans, and other fans, love shitting on the Eagles. But I think you're right at large. The Eagles aren't as disrespected as we probably think here in Philly. I don't know if you've changed any minds in the chat, but you've shifted me a little bit on it, Johnny. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just not true. It's funny, because it is Hollywood. Just over the past couple of days, like out of the blue, hat tip to Nick, he'll know who he is, but basically a Hollywood agent reached out to me because he listens to Birds 365 and he's an Eagles fan. So, connecting, get to connect with somebody that's pretty high profile in that industry. And I always tell the Phoenix story. The Phoenix story is amazing to me when I'm traveling. Just how many Eagles fans were out there. My Uber drive, you're sitting on a corner in Glendale.
Right.
Well, whatever that is, 2,000
order an Uber on an app.
Yeah. How many miles away from Philadelphia, and an Eagles fan picked up. Oh, I know who you are. And that was coming off the game where one of the Cardinals employees, which I cannot, render his name because he'll get in trouble, just chat me up in the press box. And I'm like, wow, this guy's really friendly. And he's an Eagles fan. And he takes me off in the corner, and I'm like, this is weird. And he raises up his slacks he was wearing to show me his socks. He's got Cardinal stuff on, and he's got Eagles socks on underneath.
That's pretty funny.
It was. It's hilarious. That's your power of your Philadelphia Eagles. But
there you go, man.
Very, very. So I don't see a ton of disrespect as other people seem to see. And that's why I am the way I am. I see the exact opposite. This team is high profile. Everybody wants to be around them. Celebrities. Pete Davidson is stopping in. Big Dom knows everybody. It's absurd.
You got Ivanka Trump, remember? She's stopping in. Everybody wants to stop in at the Birds this summer.
Ivanka wants to stop in to chat up Eli Ricks because he said she's attractive, which she is. Shane Gillis was talking about that last night as well.
Oh, was he? I got to watch it. Sounds like Shane Gillis hit on just about everything.
Yeah. To me, it's one of the dumbest narratives, but I think it's so ingrained in the identity of the franchise from the losing. People haven't noticed that page got turned a while ago.
Any other thoughts on the ESPYs worth sharing, Johnny Mac?
No, that's about it. That's about all of the ESPYs. And
I didn't watch it at all.
I would
I
have.
didn't watch
I
it,
didn't.
dude.
I didn't watch 10 seconds of it. Well, I knew I'd watch
You
Gillis.
just saw the clips, right, on social, I would assume.
Yeah, I think Shane is funny. And I knew I'd
I think he's
watch.
funny too. I wondered how his type of humor would
Oh,
sit with that
yeah,
crowd.
it does. With that crowd, it's not going over well. But he's a funny dude. He's and by the way, recommendation, TV recommendation. He's got a show Tires on Netflix. Very good, and a lot of local tint to it because he's local. He's not from Philly, but he's from, like, I don't know, suburban Harrisburg, somewhere near there. But he's local and he's an Eagles fan, and there's a lot of local stuff down to the Delco accents. Very funny show. Very, very funny show.
Prince says Shane won't be hosting again. LOL.
Yeah. Well, he might. They had Norm Macdonald. He did Norm Macdonald's famous O.J. Simpson joke because he likes Norm, as everyone in comedy does, as sort of a tribute. Rest in peace to Norm as well. But they understand. I mean, that's why you hire guys like Shane Gillis to crack on people. It's sort of like a roast mentality in that monologue. But
yeah,
the funniest part was, I will say, I'll give a shout out to his funniest joke to me. A lot of funny jokes, but the funniest to me, because it exposed the nonsense of the people in the audience, was he was shouting out to various athletes, and he said, shout out to 4-time WNBA All-Star Brittany Hicks, and everybody clapped, and they showed Brittany Hicks in the audience, and Shane just said, that yeah, I'm joking, that's my friend's wife. And everybody bit. Everybody bit
on that. I did see that one on social media this morning. That's pretty funny. That's pretty. I guess he had to get approval from his wife and his friend and his friend's wife.
They
for
were
that
in
one,
on
right?
it. Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
goodness, that's funny.
It was tremendous. But anyway, your Philadelphia Eagles are the team of the year. Saquon won play of the year. I don't know if they won anything else, but somebody in the chat can tell me. But anyway, not that it matters, but there you go. Right next to the you can put it right next to the Lombardi Trophy, the ESPY.
We got a couple super chats on the ESPYs. Let's get to them. Prince says, nah, JMack isn't an Eagles fan. He would know we fight about everything and anything. Go Birds, F the haters. It's an Eagles thing. We fight, JMack. Yes, you guys.
Yeah, I know. I said it's an identity thing, and so many can't figure out that the page is turned. That's all I'm saying. I don't care what you do. You can fight with fans. I don't care. But I'm going to call it out when people, they're disrespected. No, they're not. It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. You're one of the haves. You're one of the 1%ers. You ain't gritty Philadelphia anymore. You're the rich guy on the top of the hill.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true. That's the kind of respect they get. Sorry to break your just bubble.
Yeah, we're the elite class nowadays.
Yeah. You are the elite class.
Trust Prince me. Again. He says, JMack has a joke where he says he can tell a person's race by their car in that show.
Yeah. Great joke.
I'm not sure what's he referring to there.
Tires, the show I was talking about on Netflix. It's about it's about a lube place, about like a Chippy Lube type place.
Right.
And there's a great scene where they can guess the race of the person by the car
based on what they're driving. Yeah. That's pretty funny. Good stuff, Prince there. A couple more super chats I think we got early. Thank you all for being here this morning. By the way, thank you all for the super chats. We got plenty of stuff to talk about as we're now getting close to training camp. Just knocking out some of the things that happened in the sports world last night. Here's JD. I think this is JD3 with the new user. Yeah, you can tell by his Harrison Bryant jersey as his picture.
That is weird, man, JD. That is weird. But go on.
I find it to be very fun. If you're going to troll, I mean, you commit to the troll, John. You make the picture in it.
I think he likes him though. I think it's more than trolling. But maybe I'm wrong.
I do too. But maybe there's
maybe I'm wrong.
maybe we boosted it up a little bit. He says Jalen Carter needs a tailor. Y'all see them big ass pants he was wearing? My boy too damn big to have McHammer pants. I didn't see him.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't. All I saw was clips, and I don't know who was there, so you guys can inform me on
Was
that.
Jalen Carter on the stage when they accepted the award?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, he was. I'm looking at the photos now. I do see the big ass pants. Those are some,
yeah, he's a big
those are
dude,
some big
man.
pants.
It's a big dude, so it's tougher for big dudes to get tailored, to look like Devontae Smith, who dresses like, he's straight out of New York Fashion Week. It's tougher for the big guys.
That's true. We got a couple of those players on Philly who dress, really dress to the nines, if you will.
Oh, Devontae, man. Devontae wins that by a million miles. And there are a lot of well-dressed guys, but they ain't touching Devontae.
No, Devontae does have the dapper look. Look, here's a picture of them at the ESPYs. Let me pull down the thing. So you can see, yeah, Carter's got some long pants. Who's that there? Josh Sweat?
Josh Sweat, Jordan. Yeah, Jordan should be there. Yeah.
And then Sirianni. And then I would assume that's probably Sirianni's wife, I'm guessing there and then Mailata. There you go. Good picture. Good picture of the birds represented to the national crowd at the ESPY. So good stuff there. Thank you for the super chat, JD3. And then one more chat here. Let's get into some Eagles talk here as we have training camp coming up right around the corner. All right, what are we, 5 days out from the Eagles reporting, 6 days out from them hitting the practice field, 49 days away, I believe, now from the home opener versus the Dallas Cowboys. So, and kick on off the NFL season. Wilfredo checks in. He says, if Cam and Landon get injured, I don't know how I feel about the backups. They couldn't even play for an injured 40% Cam in the playoffs. Well,
they won the Super Bowl, dude. What do you mean they couldn't play? They persevered, which is, most teams, when they lose players like Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson on the offensive line, fall apart. We were talking about that with Tyler Steen yesterday with BLG. He didn't play great, but they persevered. When Jordan was hurt earlier in the season, Fred Johnson didn't play great. Certainly not like Jordan, but they persevered. Most teams fall apart. You lose players like that. And if anything, this year they're better equipped. Because they got deeper and better on the offensive line. Something we don't talk about. I've said it a couple times, but I haven't seen it much because nobody worries about it, and they shouldn't worry about it because they have by far the deepest offensive line in the NFL. I got 14 guys who should be NFL players. 14 of them. 14.
That's a lot of offensive linemen, man.
And they brought in Drew Kendall, who I think is going to be a really good player. So they're better at backup center. We'll see with Miles Hinton and Cameron Williams. They have to develop and all, but they're certainly worthy draft picks, and the Eagles are very high on Miles Hinton, very high on Miles Hinton. So, I don't see that at all. But anytime you have multiple injuries on the offensive line, you can go back to Doug's last season. That can cripple you. And you're never going to replace it. If Fred Johnson had to play 17 games, you would have known it. If Tyler Steen had to play 17 games, you would have known it. So it depends. Can they but by persevere, I mean for a game or two, for a half, for this, for that. But that's better than most teams. That is way better than most teams. And Matt Pryor being here, who can play 4 different positions at a capable level. And Kendall Lamb, even, who's a guy who might not even make the team, but he has been, he started a lot of games in the NFL. A lot of games. And he's your potential swing tackle. Now he's, replacement for Fred, who went to Jacksonville, but he's more ready. He's better than Fred. I'll tell you that. And I like Fred, but Kendall Lamb has started a lot of games in this league. So yeah, I kind of disagree with that.
All right. So you're feeling good about the depth there. I mean, look, anytime you lose, if you lose 2 starters on the offensive line, yeah, it's probably not going to be great. I mean, but we Eagles are pretty well equipped as compared to most of the NFL. So plenty of stuff, John, to here to talk about. I want to talk about some bubble players, John, on the roster. I teased that earlier in the week, and I want to talk about that because I think we all know what the battles are going into camp. We all know where the positions of focus are as we enter training camp. But I do want to talk about kind of the back end of the roster and guys you think might be on the bubble. I saw an article out there. I think it was on NBC Sports, maybe from Dave Zangaro, if I'm not mistaken, but some veteran players who are on the bubble. There's a kind of a lot out there, John, that are, teetering on will they make the squad? How will the roster shake up? If you remember last year, John, it was kind of a thing also where Howie had to shake and bake a little bit or try and make the right moves. It's a little bit of gamesmanship to try and know, okay, who will get through waivers, who won't, who can we keep for now, who can we bring back, who can we get to the practice squad, all those different things. So when I say bubble players, is there any guys that immediately come to mind to you? There's a couple I have that I want to run by you, but just anyone that comes to top of mind for you, John.
Well, I do it a little bit differently, and I call it the 100% club. A little bit different from the 99% club. This is the guys 100%, 100% that they are going to be on the team. And by 100%, I always mean 100%. So, we leave injuries aside because there's no way to predict injuries. But like Jahan Dotson is not in my 100% club only because I think there's a very small path that somebody like Terrace Marshall can have a great summer and Danny Gray have a great summer. And the Eagles say, you know what, we're good enough. Let's trade Jahan Dotson for something. So to me, it's like 98. So I say 100% means 100%. That means there's no avenue. These guys are not going to be on the team. And that number is 34 this year. And that's down from 37 last year. So a little bit more uncertainty, which shouldn't be a surprise after what happened in the offseason. But so I got 34 guys, and I'll run them down really quick. And by the way, it was 100% with that. I was 100% on my 100% club on the 37 last year.
Nice. So you're shooting. Your 100% was accurate in that you were right about him.
Yeah. So this year, quarterbacks Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee. So I don't even put Colin McCord, even though he's a 98% guy, because hey, maybe Dorian Thompson-Robinson has a great summer, and you Howie does the old, he's got a sprained ankle and goes about it that way, like he did last year with Anaya Smith. So again, 100% means 100%. Running back Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley, A.J. Dillon doesn't get there because of his injury. Right. Wide receivers, only 2. A lot of wide receivers, not that they're bad, but it's A.J. Devontae. 100% again. Tight end, Dallas Goedert. That's it. Offensive line, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, Lane Johnson, Drew Kendall. 100%.
Wow. Drew Kendall as a rookie gets the 100% club. I love it.
Miles Hinton and Cameron Williams are going to be here, but hey, if you can only keep one, then you got to play the game and you got to make up an injury or you got to get them through waivers, yada, yada, yada.
And you must know that they really like Drew Kendall.
Yeah, they do. They really like Miles Hinton. I'd be 98 on Miles Hinton, but I'm not 100. Edge rushers, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Azeez Ojulari are my 3. Interior defensive line, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Jomo, Ty Robinson are 4 100%ers. Off-ball linebacker, Zach Bond, Trotter, Jihad Campbell, N'Kobe, but he'll be on the PUP list, obviously, but he'll obviously be here. Corners, Quinyon Cooper, Kaylee Ringo, Adoree Jackson are my 100%ers. Safety, Reed, Drew, and Sydney are my 100%ers. Specialists, obviously, they have no competition, so it's going to be Jake Elliott, Braden Mann, Charlie Hewlett, and that makes 30, whatever I said, 34.
34 names. 34 names.
So
One,
everybody else, now again, you have a bunch of guys starting with Kyle McCord. Yeah, he's going to be here. There's no doubt he's going to be here. But they're not 100%. And
the 98% club might be pretty big. Might be pretty 10 names deep.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. Yeah. But actual bubble players,
I'm kind of surprised you had Adoree Jackson, 100%.
100%.
Well, the only reason I say that is because if Ringo fails and they brought in a corner, would he be the guy out?
Still going to be here as the top backup. And B, he's a good player. I mean,
yeah, I like him too, actually.
But one of the things that I just, the Eagles have 90 people now, right? Because it's the off season. The oldest defensive player they have is Perry Nickerson, who is not going to make the team.
Now, how old is Perry Nickerson?
30. And Adoree will be 30 on September 18th, I believe. They have, I mean, there's one thing. They had one of the youngest defenses in the NFL last season, had tremendous success. But you had guys, you had Slay, you had BG, you had even Oren Burks and Isaiah Rodgers had some experience before he got here, and players like lose that. They are incredibly young. Incredibly. I mean, that to me is something to keep an eye on. And we talk about leaders, like you lost defensive captains. All right, who's going to be captain? Well, I think Reed's going to be a captain. And we've talked about it in the past, who leads each room. The edge room, Jeremiah Washburn's room, Nolan Smith does. He's the leader. Jordan Davis is the leader interior. Linebackers, Nakobe. If you want to boil it down to cornerbacks and safety, I mean, Reed's the leader overall. A corner, who do you even pick? I don't know. Probably Cooper, but I don't know. I mean, in reality, it'll be Adoree. Pretty no question, which is why I get to that point. But who just got here? So we're going to see, man, because it's bad enough to lose players like Brandon Graham, Darius Slay on the field, but obviously they're not what they once were. And it makes sense to move on from a business standpoint. But, boy, you'd like to have one or two of those guys around.
Yeah. How much credence do you give to that they are in a very experienced group of young guys? I mean, there's not many guys that are this young in the NFL that have the type of experience that these guys do. And I mean, even going back to college, I know it's not the same game, but I do think it comes into play when you have this many young guys on the team. Well, how much credit do you give to that?
That's the idea of handling adversity versus success. I mean, yeah. Like, let's use the corners as an example. All they know is success, really. They were both so good. Quinyon was top 10. Cooper was number 1 overall, from PFF. Yeah, you can say, he struggled a little bit against Adam Thielen. All right. There's going to be adversity somewhere along the line. Trust me. Sauce Gardner just got $120 million. Maybe the most talented cornerback in football. Guess what? He's gotten beat. He's had difficult seasons. So how do you handle that part of it? All they've known is success. How do you handle the other part of it? So you can kind of look at it both ways. But, the more experience and they played helps. And they certainly weren't overwhelmed. So I expect them to continue to having good seasons. But cornerback's a position where, some of the best that have ever done it, it's like BLG made the same same comparison I use often. They're like baseball relievers, man. They have up years, down years, just by the nature of the position. So it's handling adversity is something everybody expects to do. Some of them do it well. Some do it well, but they expect it if they have any common sense. Handling success, a whole different ball game, and we're going to see how they handle success.
Yep, we're going to see
There's
for sure.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
More smoke got blown up their ass last night out in Hollywood.
That's true, man. Are you wondering if there's too much smoke being blown up the Eagles?
Well, there always is. The question is, how do you handle it?
Rat poison.
There's certain like guys you don't worry about. Like I don't worry about Jalen Hurts, but
yeah,
he wasn't even there. Surprisingly, I think he wasn't there, but
I didn't see him there. He was in Greece with Jordan.
Yeah, he's probably still in Greece. Yeah. Anyway, so, and Nick's already talked about that handling success. That's a big part of what he's trying to do is try to get these guys to handle success well.
Dad says it's not smoke when you earn it. Well, it's still smoke in the sense that it can, it's like perfume, like Sirianni said, Dad.
Man.
Don't eat it, man. Don't eat it.
There it is. There's the identity of the Eagles, man. Smoke up your ass is smoke up your ass. It don't matter if you deserve it, undeserve it, whatever. It's what Sirianni was talking about, the perfume. Smell it. Don't drink it because it's poison.
It is poison. I hear you, Daz. Good stuff there. We'll see how it all plays out, man. I do think you're right, John, where there is some adversity in that regard, and it will be interesting to see how the young guys handle it with really the lack of a true long-term veteran like they've had in the past. You had Slay and BG. You obviously brought those two names up. I mean, not only are they veteran players, John, but they're extremely accomplished. NFL.
Yeah.
Very accomplished. I mean, most are not that accomplished across the league when you look at what Slay and BG have accomplished. So it will be interesting to see. But, John, I feel good, man. I feel like this team, these young guys are different than most young guys. I know that might be Eagle fandom in me, whatever, but I really think that these guys come from good organizations. They came from championship pedigree schools. They know what it takes to win at the highest level. They have the right mentality on and off the football field. I do think it's a special group of players that the team has assembled. Now, does that guarantee that they handle it all well? No, it doesn't. But I think it improves their odds.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think most of them will be fine. I'm just interested to see not have that. When CJ did his interview on the pivot, like there's so much to that. And I took something from it that I think nobody else did. And that was his Josh Jobe story that I told yesterday. Yeah. It wasn't because of people being a little bit jealous about him coming in late when he first got here and him jumping the line, so to speak. It's not what I took from it. Who did Josh Jobe go to when he felt uncomfortable? Darius Slay. I've been saying for years, because people don't understand because of Slay's personality and his sort of gregariousness, although in a much more positive standpoint for the most part. But kind of a, loud guy, funny guy. Same with Brandon. But everybody loves the dude. And you get these young people Josh was a rookie at the time. Wherever Josh from Florida, I think, went to Alabama. But, I always say that's another thing people don't think about. You're 21, 22, 23 years old, and you're taken out of your comfort level and thrown into a big city you don't know anything about.
Actually, a really good take.
That is a tough adjustment for any young person. And what they do is lean on their teammates. And there is not a better teammate in the National Football League than Darius Slay. Not a better team. I mean, nobody is more positive reinforcement. He enforces other guys from other teams that people get pissed off about. And you lost that. I'm just saying it's real. Who did Josh Jobe go to when he felt uncomfortable as a rookie? You know, I always tell the Devin Allen story, the Olympic sprinter that was here for a few years trying to make the transition back to football. When the Eagles first brought Devin Allen in, he didn't know anybody, obviously. He hadn't even been playing football. He gave up football at Oregon to run track and had tremendous success. And the Eagles signed him, came in, didn't know anybody, and he was doing double duty. He was running the Penn relays, still doing track stuff. And Slay organizes a group of teammates to go down to support him at the Penn relays. That shit's rare, man. And I've been talking about this on this show for years. People, and Slay specifically, people don't know how good of a teammate he was, how well respected. But the business comes into it. And I don't agree with the Eagles' decision from a business standpoint. I've said that multiple times. They got to figure out if Ringo can play. This is the year. If you don't figure out this year, you basically wasted his rookie contract. So I have no issues from a business standpoint. And I agree with their decision. But that stuff that nobody thinks about, that a lot of that stuff is real.
Yeah, that's like a human element perspective on it. I think it's a good. I actually think it's a good take. I mean, I do think there's a lot of those things that happen that sometimes as fans we can just shut out. You know, they're playing a game, they're on the football field, they're superstar athletes, all these different things. But there is a lot of those real things that come into play. So we'll see how it all goes this year, Johnny Mack. I think it's going to go well, but I hear what you're saying. But we will see, obviously, what ends up happening with everything on that front. I do think they got a good special group of young guys, and we'll see how they manage everything that goes on this year. We'll take our first commercial break right now. When we come back, I want to talk about a couple different position groups I have in mind. I'm going to talk wide receiver 3. I want to talk tight end battle. Who's emerging in the cornerback room? Linebacker depth and role, guard competition. There's plenty of things to talk about before training camp. So we're going to get you guys set as training camp kicks off next week. We've talked about everything all summer. All right. There's nothing that we've left out. So we will repeat ourselves, but the goal is to prepare you now in the final week before training camp to get you ready to rock, ready to know what to look for when all the beat reporters are tweeting out videos and posts and articles and all sorts of different things. And we'll have YouTube videos up here on YouTube. So that's the goal. Stay locked in here on Birds 365. Let me make sure I got all my super chats. Dank Bird Gang says, we have a new Agent Zero, Josh Uche season. Sarcasm.
Yeah, well, I mean, Josh, I just did my 100%ers. He is not a 100%er, but he's a guy I could see being a big impact on this team, and he's a guy I could see being cut. That's, he's one of those guys. And, one thing we should have talked about is Von Miller signing with Washington.
That's right. Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, again, big name trap. One of the greatest pass rushers of all time, by the way. That's not hyperbole. Now he's 36 years old or 30. But I'll tell you what, if he's a rotational piece, pass rusher, that's all he is at this stage. But I feel a hell of a lot more comfortable. That is the one position I mentioned that to BLG. I'm like, ooh, that could go bad. Like, what could go bad? I mean, really bad. And outside the obvious of multiple injuries, like we were saying with the offensive line.
Right, which exists on every team.
Yeah, it exists everywhere. Yeah, in every team, every year. Outside of that, like just from a performance standpoint, what could go dramatically wrong? I look at edge rusher 1, and number 2 would be safety, but number 2 is pretty far behind. Because I think you have multiple bodies that are pretty similar at safety, and you at least at the bare. Like I know how Vic trusts Tristan McCullum, and nobody talks about Tristan. At the bare minimum, he'll go out there and line up correctly. That's what I'm talking about. So I don't have as much concern at safety. Edge rusher could go really bad, especially if Nolan Smith doesn't turn into not a good player, because he already is a good player, a really good player who's on the field consistently,
right,
for 17 games.
Going to be interesting. Wilfredo again checks in. He says, Washington running a nursing home, ?
Well, we just talked about it. They're going the exact opposite route. Yeah. So we're going to see. We're going to see, because, they've got a bunch of veteran players who are accomplished, and they just added a no doubt about it first ballot Hall of Famer who was one of the greatest pass rushers certainly ever of the modern generation. I don't know. I got to count up as all pros. 7 all pros.
Yeah, but that is in the past. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
he's 36 years old, but he's and what he had been in Buffalo is a situational pass rusher. And he even had 6 sacks last year. Now he had and he had 8 sacks in 2022. I don't know what went wrong. I know he got suspended at one point. I don't know what went on in 2023, but he could still get to the pass. As a situational pass rusher, would you rather have Von Miller or, again, just from a pure football standpoint, more than Josh Uche or Azeez Ojulari? Again, if you're being honest, nursing home or not, you can get Bonnet Kane, and I think he'd get to the pass rusher quicker than those guys. He knows what he's doing. We get to the passer. So
that is an old team, though.
Is he a starter? No, obviously not. But again, the Eagles want to come.
I mean, the cliche exists, John, that it's a young man's game, and we obviously know that that's true.
Oh, sure.
How do you balance the two things?
Well, that's what we're just talking about.
Yeah.
It's a young man's game. Everybody talks about how young the Eagles defense was. They're all right, but they had Brandon Graham. They had Slay, who weren't young men and who also contributed mightily. Especially Slay, because obviously
on and off the field,
PG got hurt. On the field, Slay was still cornerback 1, despite what everybody thinks. So it's nice to have a mix. Now, to the point, has Washington gone too far? Maybe. But we're going to see. I mean, that's what this season's going to be about. To me, it ain't about the Cowboys. It's about the Eagles and the Commanders as far as the NFC East goes. And as you say, they got Perry Nickerson is the oldest Eagles defender. Just if you start off with Von Miller now and Bobby Wagner, who's going to the Hall of Fame, and he's still playing at a very high level. There's a lot of experience, a lot of know-how, a lot of demonstrated performance, as Nick Sirianni would call it.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. Johnny Mack, I'm going to take the youngsters, but I hear you. I do think I did wonder. One of the biggest questions I had as a proud Eagle fan is, did we go too young? Did we take it too far And that's what we're going to find out, as we talked about here in the opening segment today. Let's get to our commercial break. Appreciate everybody being here. We've had a great crowd all summer, and now we're within a week until training camp. Hit that like button, everybody. Good to see some great names checking back in on the chat. I appreciate all of you guys for being here. Hit the like button. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.